We actually talked a bit about protesting tonight, which was interesting. And it's crazy because in Australia, people get very anti-protest. Have you noticed this? It's very like, you fucking protesters. Like, I don't understand that because all protesting is saying how you feel. But I get that in Australia, they're like, oh, he's telling people how he feels. Get him! You know what I mean? Like, gotta bottle that shit down. Buy a jet ski. That'll show him. Yeah. But it's interesting that now protesting is coming into the political discourse a lot more. I mean, even, let's take the anti-lockdown protesters, right? There is a couple of good things to pull from it. For one, people are learning that protesting is a thing. And secondly, it's the most I've ever seen Australian men talk about consent. All of a sudden, they're just like, you're not putting that in me. No, means no, mate. Not even if I was unconscious. Not even if I was drunk, not even if I was naked with a bullseye target right here, I'm still not asking for it. No means maybe. Sorry, force a habit. But the crazy thing is, Australia has a very rich history of protesting. The Eureka Stockade, a prime example. Vietnam was a protest that stopped a pretty popular war. Indigenous rights were given from protest. Women were given the right to vote from protest. Like, all these things happened. In Fremantle, dock workers went on strike in the 30s. It was 1936. And that actually sparked a global movement that created the 40-hour work week that we know now. Which is crazy to us. Not crazy so long ago, but crazy that for once the dockers actually won. But we get a lot of complaints. Australians like, oh, protesting doesn't work. Doesn't fucking work, mate. Just don't bother. Doesn't fucking work. And it's like, mate, this is a protest for expanding Medicare, which I'm guessing you're going to need the second that Balinese tattoo gets infected. But people still get shitty about it. Like, oh, it's just weakness, mate. You got to harden the fuck up. Got to take it. And it's like, you realise that that's what the people in power used to tell you. And now they've trained you to tell you that yourself. They used to be holding you down, and now they have got you doing that yourself. They got hands free. They're making muffins and shit. They're playing Mario Kart. They don't give a fuck. And you're just there just being like, unions? Bunch of people standing together, believe in yourself? Nah, mate, no one believes in me. Yeah, it got too real there. I felt that. Just a shame, though. Protesting does work, though, in Australia. Do you remember when Arnott's changed the recipe for pizza shapes? Sorry, remember that shit? And the country collectively went, egg fucking excuse me? They changed that shit so quick. They went back on their word quicker than a mining company after Reconciliation Day. I swear to God. It's just a shame that we get riled up about pizza shapes, because I feel like people in Australia actually want to protest. They just feel ostracized by it. You know, everyone's like, oh, fucking protest. It's just a bunch of commie hippies in a drum circle, you know? Because when you go to protest, there's a bunch of commie hippies in a fucking drum circle. Every goddamn time. It's like, pick a place. Like, be who you want to be, but do it to the side. Chevron doesn't open up its board meetings with a fucking powwow. Why would you? Like, just take it down a notch. Do you know what I mean? And I got to share some of the blame here, because I think, honestly, it's artists that are making this shit way harder for everyone else. We're like, oh, what did someone say? An opportunity? Oh, this could be exposure. Oh my God, my creative arts piece. It's like, no, I went to a rally that was anti-big oil a while back. Amazing speakers, really phenomenal stuff. And then by the end, I was so riled up. I was like, this is amazing. And they were like, okay, guys, and to close this thing out, we've got the interpretive dancers. And I just switched off like ScoMo at a bushfire. I was like, not for me. No, thank you. Nah, not going to do anything about this. It was, honestly, it was so cringeworthy. Like, it just made me, and I can't imagine me as an artist going, fuck this. Imagine what Middle Australia feels. Your whole thing about being in a protest is to try and be inclusive, and then you end a refugee rally with like, hey guys, and you know, here, really, just stick it to the man. Here's our anarchist juggling collective. Like, sorry, there's only so much unicycle that can sell a point. Do you know what I mean? Like, arts has its place, definitely in protest. You've got to pick people to what their skill set suits. Artists, make the chants and make the signs. Interpretive dance, no thank you. Do you know what I mean? Like, sex workers, amazing at rallies, but you got to put them at the front. Get their clients in, the ones that like BDSM. So all of a sudden, when the cops start choking people out, they're just fucking loving it. You ever try to arrest a man who gets off at being arrested? Gets pretty hard. But here's the thing, we're going to get taught in primary school and high school there's only one way to protest, to stand outside a building with signs, right? We get taught that. But of course we get taught that, Because you know who pays the school system to teach us that? The government. That is never going to remind us of all the times it didn't get its way. I'm not saying the government is our enemy, but it's definitely not always your friend. There's so many more ways to protest than what we're thinking. This was even in the script, but I just thought it was a hilarious fucking thing. In the 70s, Sweden said that homosexuality was an illness. So how did they protest? They started calling in gay to work. Bet that shit changed so fucking quick. I love that. So many people think you strike, and it's like, yeah, you strike, but the striking actually isn't the thing that affects the change. Standing outside with the signs and picketing, that doesn't do anything. The thing that causes the damage is the financial pressure it applies because they can't make money. And so if you can't make money, if that's your financial motivation, then cost them as much money as possible. Find every 16-year-old girl with distant parents who rack shit for a living, and if you're striking coals, let them clear the fucking place out. You're walking through and all of a sudden everything's gone. You can't even find a fucking cherry ripe. And no one wants a cherry ripe. They taste like protesters look. We just have to change the idea that protesting is sides versus sides, because at the end of the day, especially in Australia, it's not about sides versus sides. It's about who is out there saying how they feel and being articulate about it and at least making some kind of stand versus those who are saying nothing. Like, that's all it is. So I would really encourage you to engage with any communities and any positions, any perspectives that you like, and get yourself out there, because now is the time. Things aren't going to get easier. We have a global meltdown happening. We have financial crisis. Like, you need to be getting out there. A lot of people might say, look, if you're so good, why, if you have all these good ideas, why aren't you doing that? But it's like, there's 250 people in this place. What did you think this show is?